Hi, everyone. Thank you for your patience. We're a little late starting. I'm super excited to introduce one of our silver sponsors, Cindy Sparrow, CEO of Cindy Sparrow International. Super excited for this presentation, so I'll just let her take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julie. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here with you this morning. It's morning where I am anyway. I'm not sure about you. It's 9:30, and I'm joining you here from Kelowna in British Columbia, Canada. So thanks for joining for this session. It's called 23andMe, and you saw from the little the little ad that it's not about an ancestry kit, and I don't want to analyze your DNA, and I have no idea if Elvis is your long lost uncle. But what we're totally going to do is spend a little bit of time here today thinking about what 2023 could be like, and how we can dream some great plans for you to feel it with comfort and ease in this 911 career that is so challenging but rewarding. So a little bit about me. As Julie said, I'm the CEO of Cindy Sparrow International, but more importantly, I have 26 years of background in 911. It is absolutely my passion. From the very time that I started in the industry, my career started in the 911 center, and it maintained it through 911 all the way through. I did become a flight and ground paramedic, so I worked in EMS and I worked in fire-based EMS services, and I've also worked for police dispatching and for a police service. Through my career, I had the privilege of going from frontline roles into supervising and training in QA roles. And then for the last 14 years of my career, I have been in a deputy chief role where I've led large regional centers in Southern Alberta and Lethbridge. And then for the last 7 years of my career, it was in Red Deer, Alberta, in central Alberta. So we had a large regional center, tri-services as well for police, fire, EMS, and we were the primary PSEP for a large portion of the province, and with over about 100 agencies that we dispatched for. So I've worked in everything from a one-seat center all the way to a multiple-seat center, and I love all of it. So a little bit more about me. I'm the current president of NINA, Canada West Coast Chapter. I do instructing with NINA. Most importantly, I love working in 911 so much that I decided about 2 years ago, 3 weeks before COVID hit, that I would make the leap and start my own company so that I could be consulting and providing education and support for 911 centers, and most importantly, the men and women within them all across the globe. So I get the opportunity to work in centers in Canada, the US, and the UK and Europe, helping with all kinds of change initiatives, whether it be from a specific project for the center or delivering training and education. So most importantly, I'm happy to be here and sharing time with all of you this morning. So thank you so much for joining. And if you could, I would love to know where you're all from. If you can in the chat, just tell us your name, the agency you work for, the place you're located at, what your role is, and how many years you've been in 911. I always like to kind of get an idea of where people are coming from and what they do in 911 and how long they've been there. My guess is collectively there are hundreds and hundreds of years of experience in 911 between all of us in this room right now. I know that sometimes there's a delay in the chat box, so if you're putting in your location and your name and your agency and your years, I'm not seeing it yet, but I'm sure it'll be there soon. Awesome. Thanks, Juliet. Oh, Westcom. Wonderful. 8 years. That's fantastic. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Well, let's dive in. So this session this morning, oh, hi, Val. Oh, hi, Val. Hi, Rebecca. They're all popping up now. Milwaukee, Virginia. Amazing, guys. Amazing. Val, Anoka County. Hopefully I'm saying that right. The director, been in 911 for 32 years. Fantastic. And 7 in your current role. Congratulations. That's a long time. It's a long time for us. You probably started at the time I did, where there wasn't even CAD. There was pen and paper. We didn't even have 911 in our community. We had 7-digit numbers that you had to call for police, fire, or ambulance. Awesome, guys. Thanks so much. It's good to see you and have you join us this morning. So this session is for you if you are in a frontline or a leadership role and you love what you do, but it seems to be just taking a swipe out of you. It's costing you a lot of your time and energy and sometimes even your peace. And you're here because you're interested in shifting your overwhelm and that not enoughness feeling that we sometimes feel as frontline workers and leaders. You want to shift that burnout to more feelings of ease and to make the impact and the results that you're here to do, and to start a game plan for 2023. So we're going to get rolling on that right now. Hi, Crystal. I see you in the chat. That's fantastic. So first off, I just want to make sure, does everybody have their journal and an awesome pen that they love writing with, or a pen and paper or something to write with? And also grab a java or a beverage, whatever you've got nearby, and let's get comfy. I'm curious. I always ask what's in everybody's cup. I am fueled by Americanos. That's what I have, joining you here this morning, with some water, of course, too. Got to stay hydrated. Excellent. So I'm curious what's in your cup. If you have your favorite beverage with you, and it's a really yummy coffee, I'd love to hear all about it. Go ahead and pop it in the chat, because I'm always looking for new ideas for coffees I haven't tried yet. All right. So here's what today's session is not about. It is not about setting any kind of New Year's resolutions. Oh, Halcyon, are you having sound issues? Just a sec. I'm just checking the chat right now. I want to make sure it's not something on my end. Baby's coffee from Key West. Oh, that sounds amazing. I love coffee. I'm such a Java nut. Julie,
I don't have problems hearing you, Cindy.
Okay. I will just, if you guys are having issues, just pop again in the chat. Halcyon, I hope you get it sorted. Okay, sounds good. Perfect. Kate, wonderful. Thank you. Okay, so today's session, it's not about setting New Year's resolutions at all. Today's session is about identifying some of the things that are causing our overwhelm and burnout, and the things that are going on in our centers that are driving that, the things that are going on inside of us that are driving that, and then identifying the 2023 that you want to experience and how you want to experience, so that you can start making a game plan to get you out there feeling good and crushing some goals while you do it. Right. So let's talk a little bit about the big things contributing to our workload, our stress, and our well-being. We know that in our industry, we are so incredibly understaffed. We are absolutely underfunded. We're under-recognized often. There's still many parts of North America where we are not recognized as first responders in 911, and there's a lot of us doing work to advocate for that. Otherwise, it leads to things like underfunding, lower wages, which impacts staffing and impacts people's wellness. And then often we're misunderstood by the officials and leaders at the very, very top, not the directors and the chiefs of centers, because likely most of us have come through the ranks and understand what's going on. It's the ones that really can make the big decisions about the things that impact us to get the resources that we need so we can thrive in 911 in spite of this constant change, with increased workload, increased call volume. Our social issues are growing, and so is our need to support them, and our staff is dwindling, and so are our resources. So we are definitely in a crisis of epic proportions here in 911 in Canada, as well as in the US. I get to work with a lot of centers in the US as well, so I'm visiting you often. And then, of course, it leaves us as 911 frontline workers and leaders to hold things together and be the glue to keep things together the best that we can. And because we care about this profession and each other and serving our communities, we often feel the extra pressure to make sure that we step up and serve by way of overworking and overtime and all kinds of the other things that create the overwhelm and burnout, and certainly add to it in a significant way for us as we move through our careers. All right, so the other thing that is causing our current reality in 911, the other thing that's causing some of the issues for us to feel overwhelmed and burnout, is clearly the constant stress and trauma exposure that we're exposed to every day in our line of work. And quite often, because we are short-staffed and call volumes increased, we have hardly any time or no time at all to regulate between calls that we're taking, to kind of shift our nervous system, which causes all kinds of cumulative stress. It can cause mental health injuries, of course, and they're prevalent throughout our centers. They've always existed, but they're growing and growing without the supports that we need in place to get there. And while there is more awareness and there are more tools than there ever were before, we still have a long way to go when it comes to getting what we need to be okay in our work that we do every single day. So what does this result to? It means that we end up having a vicious cycle of perpetual overtime, where people are getting burned out and sick, and they become injured, and then they're medically required to be away from work, sometimes for long periods of time. And the rest of the team is there working the overtime to be able to cover shifts and keep the center rolling. The leaders are left to struggling to figure out, how do we make all of this work so that we can move our center forward, while also trying to be able to protect our teams and to help them through the frontline work. And the reality is, most of us are overachievers who along the way were programmed to think that our worth is somehow tied up in our productivity or how much we can give to others without filling our tanks first. So there's that pinning kind of pressure that lives in all of us, that we're very much about team and duty, and we want to be there to serve, and we don't want to let our team down. So we say yes to the overtime and the things that don't serve us well, because we don't want our center suffering, right? And then the other piece is the COVID impacts that are still occurring in centers across the continent and across the world. Actually, COVID's over for some people, but not for everyone, and it's left some long lasting damage in a lot of our centers that we're trying to recover from. All of this serves to create tough environments and toxic work environments for staff all over comm centers. And so it's a tough environment. And until we have those, system changes that we need to make things better, how do we have to figure out how we can move away from some of this and be able to take care of ourselves while we do this important work, right? So recognizing that we need system change across 911, from recognition as first responders to adequate funding and wages and training and mental health support. And while incrementally we're making waves and creating the influence that we need to start getting that to be better in our industry, that's a long-term process. We're not going to be able to solve our staffing crisis by June of this coming year. It's not a reality. We know that. We've been working in this industry long enough to realize that. So when you think about what you do have control over, how do you stay in the long game, and what can we do to take care of ourselves so that we can continue to serve in this profession that we absolutely love without it breaking us? And so the thing that we can do is start with what we do have control over rather than focusing on what we don't. One of those things that we do have influence over is ourselves. And so, like I said, we're not going to solve all of our major systemic issues that for the change that's needed in 911 in a short term, but there's some other things we can do to make the journey easier on us. And so the quickest way that I think to our freedom and ease is tapping into the subconscious mind and the limiting beliefs that run our systems so that we can reprogram them to have better results and outcome in navigating our work and our life. And so some of you may have already heard about subconscious mind and limiting beliefs. And I know we've all heard about mindset, growth mindset, or fixed mindset, and how that serves us or doesn't. So I just want to talk a little bit about the subconscious mind and how limiting beliefs get in there. So I want you to think back to a time when you wanted to change something and you couldn't quite seem to follow through or make it stick. There's a reason that happens, and it's really not your fault, because we can be successful in so many other things that we've done in our lives and our careers. And, there's always the few things that just for whatever reason don't seem to stick. For me, I know for the longest time, I struggled with weight, and it was tough for me to lose weight. It was tough to create habits that make it stick, yet I'm super successful in all of the other realms of my life. And I just don't understand why this isn't working for me. So I want to talk about the subconscious brain. It's in charge of our entire programming, and it totally drives the bus. So your conscious mind is the one that you are, the part of your brain where you're actively thinking about things when you're present in the moment, when you're thinking about what you're doing, or you have to pay attention to the actions you're taking or the things you're looking at. Your subconscious mind is the real driver of the bus. It's the one that runs on autopilot. It's the one that makes sure that you breathe. It's the one that makes sure that your digestive system works. It's the one that makes sure that when you drive home from work and you've had a really tough day and you're thinking about all the things that you just went through, your to-do list that you have waiting for you when you get home, the kids you've got to run to sports, the dinner you've got to cook, the whatever it is that you've got, then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm at home and I didn't really have to think about how I got there. That's that subconscious programming autopilot that runs in the background and is the real driver of making sure that it takes care of you and you do the things you need to do. And so those grooves, when it comes to neurology, they're really deep. They're really deep. And so it's, like I said, it's the autopilot that you go on. And the other thing that the subconscious does is it actually keeps us safe. It's constantly scanning for danger all of the time in order to keep us safe. That's just intrinsically built into us from the time we were in our cave people days. Its job is to absolutely keep you safe and help you survive. And it's done that many times throughout your life. But it does not like change at all, at all, at all. Even when staying the same could be uncomfortable, it still will not. It will not like change. So This subconscious mind with the deep grooves that actually drives the bus for us most of the time and runs our person throughout the day. When you do try to change things, even when they're good things that are going to serve you well, when you're trying to achieve goals, that thing called resistance will show up. I call it my shitty committee. Or, if you've looked at if you watch cartoons and you see the little devil on a shoulder where it's telling you like, you're not good enough. What are you doing? What are you thinking about that? Don't do that. It's not going to end well. It's going to go badly for us. We're going to cause issues. Things like you could lose your job, or you're going to lose money, or people are going to be pissed off at you. Whatever it is that's telling you to not do the thing that you want to do, creates the resistance, because your subconscious brain does not want you to change and make those changes. All right. So, excuse me, it is super dry in here. It's winter in Canada, so got to make sure I drink lots of water and dry out so quick. Okay, so the other things that are programmed in our subconscious and that influence our limiting beliefs are the things that we've experienced in our life. So this stuff accounts for a lot of the programming that we don't know exists that helps us run an autopilot. And those are things like trauma, the trauma we've been exposed to from the time that we were children, the trauma that we are exposed to in our work every single day, the life experiences that we've had that have taught us that, something didn't work out and so it's not safe or it's scary. So we have to remember that, because again, the subconscious is keeping us safe. Social conditioning, those are the things that this is particularly impactful for women. It's impactful for all of us, and I don't want to disclude men, but particularly for women, which is predominantly the majority of workforce in our 911 industry. Social conditioning teaches us that we need to be self-sacrificing and self-abandoning to serve others and not fill our tanks, because that's what a good woman does, right? And so even though our conscious brain might be like, no, that's crap, I want to be able to fill my tank, because if I don't take care of me, I can't serve at my highest and I'll be no good to anyone else. And that's not the life that I want. The subconscious programming is sneaky. And even though you know that in your conscious brain, it can be still showing up in ways in your subconscious if you're not aware of it and you're not actively taking attempts to disrupt it and change that belief. And it can end up running the programming anyway, and you still self-sacrifice and self-abandon and feel like it's your duty to hold everybody up and be a rescuer of all. And if that sounds familiar to any of you, I mean, when I think about what we do for a living, just by virtue, most of the people in our lives will probably run to us first to be their rescuers. So there's that added compound as well. So what does the subconscious and limiting belief issue do? It makes us shrink. It makes us play small when we really want to rise or reach for that thing that we want. Again, it makes us self-abandon and self-sacrifice when we'd rather say no because we want to just have space to take care of ourselves. We feel that guilt, an obligation, and sense of duty to say yes, to serve somebody, to help ease their pain or their troubles. It can roll into people-pleasing tendencies. And then one of the big things it does is it allows us to allow others to trample on our boundaries repeatedly. And most importantly, it allows us to break trust with ourselves when we put up a boundary and then we don't follow it. For example, I'm not going to take any overtime shifts, or I'm not going to do that thing. Somebody asks for help and you say yes, even though it's in spite of what you actually wanted to achieve with a day off or something like that. You're breaking trust with yourself repeatedly. It shows up in many different avenues of our work and life. But what that does is serve to compound your subconscious and reinforce all of our limiting beliefs. So that's not serving us well either. I want to chat a little bit about the 6 fears that really fuel our limiting beliefs. And I'd like to go over them. These are the big 6 ones. There are other ones as well. These are the big 6 that you'll probably notice show up in different times of your life at one point or another. So the first one being the fear of failure. So fear of failure or fear of success. This is the double-sided coin. So I'm afraid to fail, but I'm also afraid of succeeding because, so for me, I struggled with both. I was afraid to fail, but I was also afraid to reach out and succeed. Failure means like what happens if I don't do it right? That's, humiliating. I'm not good enough. It will tell me that I'm not good enough and I don't know that thing and I shouldn't have done it. But fear of success is, and this is another limiting belief that creeps in that kind of goes in partner with it, is, well, if I am successful, what if I can't do it? What if they find out that I'm not good enough? What if I mess it all up and then I lose my job or lose money or whatever? And I end up, you become the worst case scenario coordinator and you're worried about all the bad things that will happen if you go ahead and step forward and reach for what you want. Number two is fear of rejection. Now, we can absolutely thank our DNA for this. We need association, and we for our survival. We have to be accepted by other people. It comes again back to our cave people programming. If you don't have association, chances are you didn't survive very well. That's still deeply ingrained within us. So we naturally, biologically need that association with other human beings. And so our fear of rejection can be really strong. When we don't want to hear no, we don't want to be, not part of something or told no, because we think also that somehow it's linked to our worth. If we're rejected, which is not true, because you're born worthy. You'll always be worthy. No matter what happens, what you do, what you don't do, you are worthy 100% the whole way through your life. But we're often taught that rejection is a sense of less worth, and so we take it very personally. The other beast that feeds our limiting beliefs are the fear of being found out, which is imposter syndrome. And I know that probably most of us have heard of imposter syndrome, and I have suffered it greatly throughout many different times of my life. And if you have too, I'd like to say see a hell yeah in the chat. It's a beast you constantly have to tackle. It shows up because of some perfectionist tendencies, where if we screw it up, yeah, Dominique, I hear you, sister. Honest to goodness. Every time you hit a new level or do a new thing, there'll be a sense of imposter syndrome that shows up as part of our limiting beliefs. But when you know that it exists and you know the ways that you can disrupt it and the ways that it can come along on the ride with you without totally paralyzing you in your tracks from doing the thing that you actually want to do, that's really good for you and that probably other people need you to do, things like public speaking, going for the promotion, they need you to serve them at that level. It'll stop you from realizing your full potential, right? So it's a pretty powerful one. And the other thing that compounds our imposter syndrome, particularly for us in our industry, is that think about what we do for a living. You need to answer the call. You need to do it quickly. You need to not screw it up. You need to send help. I need to send the right people, and you need to not screw it up, and you have to do it quickly. And there's metrics, right? So answer the call, send help, and do it right the first time. Don't you dare make a mistake, or there's serious consequences. Well, our brain just programs that in our subconscious as, well, we're just going to go ahead and apply that to everything. It's the default one size fits all, when it really isn't, because there's a lot of things that we can do and not get right that we'll learn from greatly. But when we have this like little nagging voice in our head where we have to be perfectionists, it actually keeps us away from realizing our full potential and dreams because it's too scary to reach out for it and not get it right. Number four is comparison, the fear of being lesser by comparison. I call this comparisonitis. Man, comparison is the thief of joy. And it usually shows up because we feel unworthy or not enough. It can be also driven by a really limiting belief, driven by lack and scarcity. That's also another big limiting belief that shows up for us, that somehow if somebody else is successful doing the thing that I want to do, then that means there's less for me and it's not possible for me, which is absolutely not true. There's enough room for everybody to come here and make the difference that they're here to make. And the reality is it's going to take all of us to make our difference in the world, to move it forward in the way that it needs to be moved forward. And so comparing yourself to someone else it's just not even realistic. That's not comparing on a one-to-one basis or apples to apples. You're different people, you have different things and talents that you bring to the world, but we have a society that really influences us to be competitive in front of the pack and the leader of all. And so it can drive that comparisonitis to show up for you. So just notice when it's happening to you, what is going on at the time and what is it that you're feeling that you need to be compared for, that you're feeling lack or scarce about. And it'll tell you a lot about what might be going on for you in the moment. Number five is fear of excessive sacrifice. So if I do go for that promotion, what will I have to give up for my success? My time, my energy, my family, love, money. What am I going to lose? What am I going to leave on the table? It's starting with, there's the and or mindset where this is where the or comes in, where it's like I can have a successful career or a happy family life, but I can't have both. But the reality is you absolutely can have both. You can have both, and there are things you can do to make sure that you can have that. that is possible, and there are a lot of people that do it. But again, this just shows up for what's the trade-off. If I do this thing that's good, something bad must happen to equal it out, right? So, number six, the last one of the big six fears is the fear of making a fatal mistake in our careers or in our lives, right? This is the ultimate worst case scenario coordinator. This little jerk shows up for me every once in a while, particularly when I'm making really big leaps. So it is very much connected to the lack of the disconnected trust we have with ourselves. So if we're constantly letting our boundaries down for ourselves or for other people, we're always breaking trust with ourselves. And so what happens to our subconscious is our subconscious doesn't trust us. When we say, it's cool, we got this, we can take this leap, it's going to be all right. Our subconscious is like, no, I don't think so. You let us down a lot. You don't take care of us, and you're breaking trust all the time, right? So it starts to worst case scenario coordinate things like, well, if you do leap and take that promotion or do that thing, like what if you choose this and you mess it up, and they find out that you didn't do a good job and you get fired, you lose your job, suddenly your whole family's living on the street and you're letting everyone you love down and you're nothing, right? Like you can go from 0 to 100 very quickly and convince yourself that you shouldn't do the thing that you really want to do. All right. Anybody feel any of these at any time? I'd love to hear from you in the chat. I know it's tough to be a bit interactive when we're on a webinar session, but I'd love to hear. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I have felt all of these at one point of time and another. And sometimes they come in bundles because they're total jerks. And sometimes they come together as a package deal, a few of them at a time, and it just absolutely gets magnified daily. Yep. You're right, Crystal. There are lots of different things. We're doing new things all the time that are risky and fearful, and they can show up all the time for us, and it feels so uncomfortable. Absolutely. Okay, so I want to talk to you about why I love talking about mindset and about limiting beliefs and about the things that drive them. And then importantly, how we can disrupt them and make them different for ourselves so that we can experience life better than we are right now and not let us hold us back as much. So just a little bit of background. So I was a deputy chief and we had a very busy, large center. I was in my division. I was the only chief officer that took care of the whole thing. Other divisions within the department was a fire and EMS based service with a large regional 911 center. Other divisions within the department had 2 chiefs and sometimes other support to help run the show, right? And to help support the 24/7 activity that when you're a chief officer, I mean, that's a Monday to Friday job, but let's be real. All of us who are directors, chiefs, managers, we work 7 days a week and we're always on call. And I don't know if it's safe for you to, and if you wanted to say, if you experienced this in your agency today where, 911, although people are understanding more and more, if they've not worked in a frontline role or led in a frontline role in the center and their chiefs and other parts of the divisions, if they don't take an active responsibility to really understand what the pressure we're under and the massive change that we experience in there all the time, it's hard for them to really understand how it will affect them. And if people can't contextualize what's really going on, and when you're asking for help, you're not kidding because you probably tried all of the things already. I'm very self-sufficient. We can work circles around a lot of people when it comes to the stuff that we do, much like all of you can, because we're really damn good at what we do. And that's intentional, right? And we have to be because it's busy and we're short-staffed. So I was a DC, I was a deputy chief. I was asking for support for the workload, the rapid change that was going on, the massive, massive projects that we had on the go that were all very critical and all very time consuming that probably should have taken a couple of people full time to run. I was running them off the side of my desk while I was also running a center. That goes along with developing and leading a kick-ass team and making sure that I'm there for them. They have what they need while also having the conditions, as most of our other centers do, of short staffing and turnover and mental health injuries and a lot of things going on all at once. So again, I was the only chief officer in charge. I asked for support. I had tried all the things. And so who I reached out to for one of the people that I reported to, he said I was doing too much. I was too involved. I cared too much about the projects and initiatives. And I was told that it was a time management issue on my end. And so it was exceptionally frustrating. And it's not to call out that person because I have no idea what was going on for them. And hopefully they've learned otherwise since. But I was like, yeah, okay, sure. great. I know I'm not going to get the support that I need, but I know it's not a time management issue. Yes, I'm involved with a lot of things, but I need to be to move us forward. And so, what I didn't know was that until later, that a lot of the subconscious programming that was driving my struggle bus that I so desperately wanted off was also contributing to my constant busyness and always needing to be there and always needing to serve and being tied up. So I won't deny many of us have workloads that are like two full-time jobs, but there could be some other things that are sneaking in that we don't know about that actually just keep promoting us to feel that extra sense of urgency and duty to constantly be trying to control and maneuver everything to make it okay at the center and have it keep moving forward. So the other piece that added to this, when I started to figure out, I, I was becoming burnt out and overwhelmed on like a rinse and repeat cycle. I would get so burnt out and so overwhelmed, and then I would try to take some rest or do some things to try and make it different. And it was very short lived, and I would sort of recover ish, and then I would get right back into the fold. I don't know if this sounds like the same kind of downward spiral that some of you experience, but I know that it was for me for a very long time in my life, and it was exhausting. But I put on a smile and I kept going every day. So what I did was I reached out for support through therapy as well as some coaching to figure out how can I make this different. I do not want to live a life like this. My struggle bus was really it was really bad. It got to the point where, it was like teetering over the cliff. I knew I needed help and I needed it quick. So what I learned was I had very early training as a child to be the people pleasing and self sacrificing person who shoves down her feelings because that's what kept me safe. I grew up in a house for part of my life with a toxic narcissist, substance abusing parent who had mental illness. I was responsible for things far beyond my control as a child. I raised my brother while my mom worked 3 jobs to support us. I had a job since I was 11 years old so that I could help out at home so that we could pay our bills and live. I'm a survivor of physical and sexual abuse and of domestic violence. I could read a room like crazy, and I still can, to anticipate the energy and make it better immediately if things weren't okay, so that I could avoid the chaos and the fallout from a parent who was just really, really suffering and tough to be around and made it hell for us. I wasn't allowed to have feelings or boundaries if it inconvenienced or shone light on the truth and called out bad behavior. And then I was always told I was such a good girl for all the things I was doing to sacrifice, to help my mom, to raise my brother, to pretty much not be a kid. Listen, I'm not going to blame my mom for that. We all have circumstances and we step up and rise and we work together to make it better. And I'm grateful for my mom and brother. And it's not my mom's fault. It's just our circumstances. But those kinds of things that you become responsible for that are out of your control when you're a child, far beyond when you're supposed to, they can really, really drive those limiting beliefs that are inside of you. And I'm sure if I was in the room and I could see, there would probably be some head nods going on. Because a lot of us that are in this industry have lived a life that has those kinds of things in them. And that's what's led us to the place where we absolutely are able to show up for people in their toughest times. We know suffering. We know how to sit with people in their suffering, and we're not uncomfortable with it. We're the organizers of chaos. We're the fixer of all things. But the problem is this part that's driving the bus, it ends up getting linked to every other aspect of our lives. So we run in survival mode for such a long, long time. It becomes our ingrained behavior, and it's applied to everything that we do. And so it drives that extra burnout and overwhelm and that feeling of not enoughness. And you've constantly got to be able to please and fix and take on too much when we should actually be delegating to others and shifting the burden back to the places where it belongs so that people can also develop and that also they can really understand. And I'm talking about those people in other parts of the department. When you start shifting some of the stuff back onto them for support, they really start to understand, oh yeah, it's not good. She's been holding it together in there for a really long time, longer than we thought. We make it look easy, you guys. We were born to make it look easy. The things that we've been through that people won't know, that I'm sure all of us have stories that would break each other's hearts. We carry that inside, but we've also learned how to create resilience while we've, done some of the work to heal so that we can show up in times of struggle and strife for others. And we've made a career out of it. We're really good at it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But where we can get in the way of where it's driving the struggle bus and causing us to be constantly burned out and overwhelmed is where we're going to be able to make a lot of the impact in the ways that we're feeling in our careers today. So, what I want to do now is I want you to grab your journal, get your pen or a piece of paper. We're going to do a little activity that helps us uncover some of your limiting beliefs that you might be experiencing and how they're showing up for you. Okay. So here's the deal. I'm going to ask you a series of questions. And in the meantime, while I'm talking, get your paper and pen ready. I'm not going to give you much time to write down the answer. It's on purpose because I want you to be under pressure so that your truth comes out. You're going to write down the first thing that comes to you. Don't judge it or overanalyze it. We are all really good at that. I know you, I see you, I am you. So don't judge it or overanalyze it. Let's just let it make its way onto the page, okay? Number from 1 to 19 along the left margin. I'll give you a moment to do that. And I'm going to start answering questions. If I can get somebody to tell me when they're done writing down their 1 to 19, I'll kind of have a gauge of about how long it will take you. And then I can get rolling. Perfect. Thanks, Val. Thanks, Juliet. Okay, ready? All right, let's get our writing stick out. Okay, again, you're not going to overthink it. You're going to write down the first thing that comes to your mind and you're going to write it down right next to the number. Being successful is blank. Making money is blank. Number 3, saving money is. Number 4, investing in myself is. Number 5, speaking my complete truth is. Number 6, being visible and seen is. Number 7, being a leader is. Number 8, leading, hiring, and developing an A-game team is. Number 9, delegating to my team or coworkers is. Number 10, having enough time for everything is. Number 11, having enough energy for everything is. Okay, we're going to do a midway reset here because we're halfway through. So take a deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, and then you're just going to shake it off, do a little chair dance, whatever you got to do. Okay, just to shake it off. All right, we're going to do the next half now. All right, pick up your pen. Number 12 is having everything I desire is. Number 13, living the life of my dreams is. Number 14, making myself a priority is. Number 15, it is not safe for me to. Number 16, I do not deserve to. Number 17, I am not allowed to. Number 18, it's just not possible for me to. And number 19, I am not. Okay. Take a deep breath. I'm going to actually go over those questions again. And I want you just to look at what you wrote down your answers as, just to kind of uncover to see what might be going on for themes of some of the limiting beliefs are and how strong they are for you. When I go back and read the question, if you want to put down a number between 1 and 5 just to rate how strong it is for you, 1 being the lowest and 5 being the highest for strength or intensity, go ahead and do that too. That's going to help give you a little bit more information and data. Okay, so here are the questions that I asked you. Number 1, being successful is. Number 2, making money is. Number 3, saving money is. Number 4, investing in myself is. Number 5, speaking my complete truth is. Number 6, being visible and seen is. Number 7, being a leader is. Number 8, leading, hiring, and developing an A-game team is. Number 9, delegating to my team or coworkers is. Number 10, having enough time for everything is. Number 11, having enough energy for everything is. Number 12, having everything I desire is. Number 13, living the life of my dreams is. Number 14, making myself a priority is. Number 15, it's not safe for me to. Number 16, I do not deserve to. Number 17, I am not allowed to. Number 18, it's just not possible for me to. And number 19, I am not. Okay. I want you to keep that and you have them rated. It's going to help you kind of uncover some of the limiting beliefs and see if you notice if there's a theme of those beliefs showing up for you. I know we don't have a ton of time to share what those limiting beliefs are, but I'm going to help you integrate into some of the stuff that we're doing next. So I want you to think about what those limiting beliefs are costing you. It's costing you your time, your freedom. It's costing you your peace and well-being. It's keeping you from achieving your biggest, most audacious goals. It's keeping us from delivering the gifts we're here to get to deliver at the full level that we're absolutely meant to. What about that book that's inside of you? What about that speech you wanted to give or that talk? What about those songs that you wanted to write or that you wanted to play? What about that art that lives inside of you that you've not developed yet, or that course that you want to share with others? The thing that could change the lives for you and for other people. What about the story of everything you've been through that could be the light and the hope for someone else, and they need to hear what you have to offer? What about the thing you know or you can provide that others need for their growth as well, right? Those are the things that it's costing us, those limiting beliefs. We're not able to share those. It stops you from being the leader you want to be. And importantly, it stops you from experiencing the life, the love, the leadership, and the work that we want and we deserve. So, when it comes to time management, I want to talk about the only time management that really matters. I want you to grab a piece of paper, get a calculator, and you'll have to use like your phone or your computer because you will not have enough fingers for this. So, go ahead and grab your piece of paper and a calculator. Give you a second here to get it fired up, and then I'm going to give you some instructions to follow. So, I want you to take your current age, and I want you to multiply it by 365. And then I want you to write down that number on your paper. So if you're 44 like me, then that number would be 16,060. Write down that number, write down your number on the paper. Okay, now I want you to take on your calculators, I want you to clear them and then take 30,000 and then subtract that number you just wrote down from 30,000. And then I want you to divide that number by 365. pop your number in the chat if you can. I'll put mine in too. Mine is 3.38.19. 32. Awesome. Okay. 53. Awesome. Here is what that number means. That number is based on the average North American lifespan. So what you've just done is the math to calculate on average about how many years you have left to live, love, lead, and work the way you want to, how you want it to feel, how you want to experience it, the difference that you want to make, that you're here to make, the life that you want to live. And so how do you feel about spending your most precious currency, which is that number that you just put in the chat, that you just wrote down, that showed up on your calculator? Give some serious thought to how you want to spend your most precious currency, because when I write down my number, it is so much smaller than the very first time I ever did this exercise in a workshop. And honestly, I crapped myself when I did it. I was like, I am more years old than I have left by average. Let's be real. I'm going to try and like super sleuth the science and medicine that's out there so that I live to be like 120, because I am not even close to living the awesome life that I want to. But the reality is, on average, that we don't have control over that. But let's make what we've got absolutely matter. Let's make what we got, let's make you matter. Let's help you, remind you that you get to matter in all of this too. You're not just a bystander or a passenger in your own life. You get to be in the driver's seat. Okay. So I want to chat with you a bit about why knowing about limiting beliefs and mindset and putting the power in my hands and putting me in the driver's seat for being able to take charge of the things that I could. I didn't have a lot of control or any control on a lot of the external forces around me to make those different, but I knew that I could change how I experienced life and the way I wanted to show up in my life and for myself. And so when I figured out what that was, and when I understood that there wasn't something wrong with me, but that actually I could do something to make things different, I did do something to make things different. I crushed some serious badass goals, and I'm still crushing them. I married the love of my life. That's him in the picture just below here, right with me here. This is our before, and this is our after pictures, our now pictures. So I married the love of my life. Conquering my limiting beliefs and changing my mindset and investing in myself helped me shed over 150 pounds. And I don't say lost because I don't want to find them. I shed them. I ran my first 5K, and that's us in this picture here. That's the first 5K I ever ran. And do you want to know what I learned about running? I freaking hate it. It sucks. It's such a terrible idea. There's a lot of exercise that I'll do, but I do not like running, like only if something's chasing us. That's the only time I really want to run. Props to all of you runners out there who love it. I high five to you. I will meet you at the finish line with like a coffee or some vodka, but I am not running with you. I love your numbers in the chat. 26. Oh my God, amazing. Yeah, and some realizations. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt there, but there's some serious data for us Val, I'll absolutely put the formula in the chat. And I think this is also recorded, but also guys, if you want any of this information, please reach out to me after, and I will be happy to just give you the PDF of this slide deck, and you can ask me all the questions you want. Okay, sorry. So back to the other things that I was able to achieve, the goals that I was able to crush were, I completed a master's degree in leadership at Royal Roads University in beautiful Vancouver Island. That's me at my convocation, which was supposed to happen in 2020, but stupid COVID. And so it actually just happened last June. So I graduated in 2020, but that picture at the top is of me just this past June at my convocation. I was able to conquer that while running a really busy comm center, the place where they told me I had a time management issue. Well, time manage this. I'm going to go ahead and put myself through a master's program. I chased my dreams. I launched my company, an international company, so that I could help my fellow 911 professionals, my brothers and sisters across the globe, and so that I could actually lean all the way into my calling and do my part to move this industry forward and leave it better than I found it. And most importantly, to help my sisters and brothers who work within it, because you are my favorite, and we are doing some very, very precious and challenging work. And I want to do whatever I can on a global scale to make it easier and better for us now and for everybody that comes after us. I don't want them to suffer like we did. For the first time in my life, I really started to build the trust back with myself that I broke so often for myself and with others. I can hold fierce boundaries with love and kindness. and I do not budge. It is overwhelmingly surprising how I can show up for myself in ways that I don't. And sometimes there's even ways when I show up and I'm like, did I just say that? Did I just do that? Wow. Okay, that's way different than the Cindy that was a few years ago. For the first time in my life, I really gave myself permission to matter. I didn't before. Everybody else came before me, and I was running on an empty tank. Like somehow I didn't matter in the equation, but that programming drove that behavior for such a long time. I owned my power and truth without any apology and without asking for permission to. And it let me take huge leaps and risks that accelerated my growth and has landed me in places I could only have ever dreamed of. And it just gets better all the time. Um, just committed to lifelong learning, and I'll continue to do this work and this healing to keep evolving to be the best next me because it's so freaking worth it. The other things, that it served me was when I realized that protecting my team from extra work was actually robbing them of a chance to be empowered and develop. And it just created people who would come to me for everything because they didn't know how to do it yet. Right. So I recognized pretty quickly that like, nope, that can't happen. It's not all up to me, and I don't want it to be up to me. It's a shared responsibility to move this place forward and teach everyone else. Aw, Sarah, thank you. She says, yes, time manage this. Remember who the F you are. Exactly. Thank you so much, sister. I appreciate that. So I had chance for having time for me and a life outside of work. I could be the leader I wanted to be for my team. I showed up to be the wife, mom, friend, and family member I felt good about. Most importantly, though, I showed up for me. I got to matter, and I got to put myself first and make myself a priority. And just, yeah, it's enriched my life in so many ways. Now, I'm not gonna kid anyone. It's still a work in progress. It will always be a work in progress. Those sneaky things those limiting beliefs will creep in every time you're hitting a new level, every time you're doing something for the first time, every time something's scary. But instead of it being like a 12 out of 10, now for the most part, it's like a 3 or 4. Sometimes it's a 5 or 6, but I'm able to disrupt it and say, just a sec, let's look at this. Feelings are data. Let's figure out what's showing up for us. What are we worried about? Let's figure out the difference between dangerous and just scared, because there is a difference, and our subconscious brain makes us think everything's dangerous, but it's not. And then it allows me to just move forward, bring the fear with me, and totally crush goals or do the cool things that I want. I would be missing out on so much if I let them hold me back the way I did before. So why am I sharing all of this stuff with you? It's not to like have a brag book of the things I've achieved, because I'm not like that at all. I have a hard time. I had the hardest time with visibility and sharing my story for a very long time, up until just a few years ago. But why am I sharing this with you? It's because I want you to know that you are not an exception to the rules. What's possible for me, some of the success that I've achieved, is also possible for you too. If I can do it, you can do it. I promise you that's true. And so I share that so that you understand that I am no different than you. You guys are my peeps. We've been through a lot of the same similar things before we started in this career and during this career. And so it's possible for all of us. And I just wanted to spend the next little bit here just creating a bit of a vision for you for 2023. I want to check with Juliet quick to see, I know we started late. How much time do we have left? Do we have like about 15 minutes, 10 minutes? I know we didn't start right at 9:30.
5-ish minutes.
We have 5 minutes? Okay. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. I want you to grab your journal, and we're gonna go through some of these questions, but I'm going to make sure you have the slide deck at the end, because you can go through them on your own. I also, because I know we only have 5 minutes, I'm going to hold a workshop where we can expand on some of the work we're doing on this in January. And I'm going to make sure that you have the sign up. And I've also got a code that you can use so that you can attend for free, because I'd love to welcome you to that. We can continue this work. We only got a short piece of time, and this is such powerful stuff that I want you to have. Okay, so first, I want you to reflect on 2022. I want you to think about, don't judge it, write down the first things that come to you. What are you really proud of having, of doing, being, or achieving in your work and life over the past 12 months? It's good that we're creating a sense of urgency here, because it actually helps us get really clear on those things that we've achieved. That's my dog barking. Great. Okay, if you had to choose one word to summarize the past year in your career, what would it be and why? All right. What parts of your work light you up and fill your cup? Take a few moments to think about all of those things that you love doing, that fill your tank in your work, that you would do all day long if you could. Okay. Number four, in an ideal world, 1 year from now, my contributions in my work and our leadership are known for blank and often described as blank. In an ideal world, 1 year from now, my contributions in my work and or leadership are known for blank and often described as blank. And I want you to make these, I want you to answer these questions from your future self, from the you who you're becoming, who you're going to be in 12 months from now. Don't make it from today, make it from future you. Again, this is going to be from future you. Over the next 12 months, one thing you want to be, do, have, or create that feels out of your comfort zone is. Okay. Number six, over the next 12 months, I want to prioritize blank in my life, and doing so would look and feel like blank. Okay. Be a few seconds here to wrap up. Right. Number seven, how is the highest and best version of myself showing up in my work and life 12 months from today? Fast forward 12 months today, it's future you. How are you showing up as the highest and best version of yourself in a way that feels good and serves you and your needs, in a way that reduces the overwhelm and burnout that you've been experiencing today to the extent that you're able to? 12 months from now, how does that feel? What have you conquered? What have you achieved? What have you started? What have you left behind because it doesn't serve you anymore? Okay. A couple more moments. So this part we were going to do, I think we're at our hour now almost. And I wanted to just be able to wrap things up. This is what I'd love for you to do if you have the space, as soon as we're done now, or if you can make a commitment to come back to yourself later today, or when you have the capacity to write a letter from your future self. And in this letter to your future self, I want you to leap 10 years from now, a decade ahead, to the you that's done all the badassery of leaning all the way in and leaping into your biggest goals and dreams. I want you to take 5 minutes just when you have the space after this session to write a letter from your future self. From future self to you who's here right now in this moment, who has uncovered some of the things that you've uncovered in this session, who knows where he or she wants to go. Um, what does that future you want you to know? What will they tell you to focus on? What will they tell you to let go? Is there any other advice that they need to give you today that future you would want you to have? And then what have they achieved and where are they living? What's their life like now? Okay. But what I really want you guys to do, as we wrap this up right now, and please share in the chat, is I'm going to ask you some questions to prompt reflection. Jot down your answers in your journal, but if you could please share in the chat too, because it helps people really learn from each other. We learn most when we learn in a community. We learn with each other, but we also learn from each other, and it totally exponentiates and magnifies our growth together, which is my favorite thing about group learning. So here is the first question. I want you to think about today's session. What are your biggest takeaways or your biggest aha moments that you experienced in this session? Write a couple of them down. And I would love, love, love if you could share in the chat. And I'm happy to share what showed up for me the very first time I did an activity like this. It was that I felt not alone. I felt not ashamed. It lifted kind of the shame lid on it's not me and it's not that I'm not capable. It's that, holy crap, there's some things running this programming that I didn't even know was a thing. So, what are some of your biggest takeaways or aha moments from this session? And why was it important for you to be able to learn that? What was important about it? We do. We limit ourselves a lot and we need to stop. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, Juliet, your childhood affects a lot more of what you do than I realize. It's true. There are a number of adverse childhood events actually that I teach in a lot of my mental health programs and some of my leadership stuff that actually impact us significantly. It's why most of us ended up here doing the work we did, but it hitches a ride with us for sure, and it can really impact us. Val, yes, that you have 20 years to live your best life and that you do matter. Hell yeah, you do. Hell yeah, you do. Think of all you've contributed to this industry and to the people that you've served, the changes in the difference you've made in lives, the lives you've saved, the difference, the positive difference you made in not only the people you lead, but the calls that you've answered, people you'll never ever meet. You absolutely deserve to live your best life. You do matter. And I want you to have that retirement because you deserve it. Okay, now that you know what you know from today's session, what will you do with it? I want you to write down just a couple of reflection. Just reflect on that, whatever comes to mind, the one or two things. Now that you know, what are you going to do with it? Val, you shared yours, that you're going to live your best life and make sure you matter. Okay. So as you're doing that, just the last piece here is let's nerd out on the neuroscience. I love doing that. Neuroscience is totally my jam. I love having evidence-based information to support the stuff that we're doing. It makes us feel like it's not our fault and it shifts the burden onto where it's supposed to, which is our programming. So here's some things. Anchoring in habits are really important. Clearly, we do not have time today to go over this in any kind of detail, but we are going to go over it in the workshop that I'm going to offer you on the next slide. Your compelling why is what keeps you going when things get tough. Know what yours is. Check in with it regularly. I assess mine every quarter. I spend a day with myself going over things to make sure, is my why still aligned with my direction? Has my why changed? Do I need to add to it? Do I need to drop things? It is your absolute anchor, and it's what keeps you going when things get tough. Then I want you to think about what's your word or phrase for 2023? Who are you becoming and all you want to achieve? It can be anything you want or a mantra that you can say that just reminds you how freaking amazing you are and that this world's yours for the taking. That you can stand in your power without permission and without apology. And then I want you to look for evidence every day, at least twice a day, that your word or phrase and all you're wanting to become is coming true. It lights up your RAS, which is your reticular activation system, and it accelerates that change and reinforces your new beliefs because you'll start to see evidence of it everywhere you go. Okay, so I am going to close off with this. I just want to say authenticity. I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah, unapologetic authenticity. Be exactly all of you in your most you-iness you, Valerie. You are freaking amazing. I haven't even met you in person yet, and I know how freaking amazing you are. Nice. I love it. Mine's command. And I can go into that at our workshop, but do not abandon yourself. Absolutely, Sarah. Yep, absolutely. I love that. That's powerful stuff. Okay. So here's a QR code on the screen. Go ahead and grab your phones and it's the spot that you can sign up for the workshop. So we'll do more of this work at a deeper level and create a little bit more of a game plan and some goals for you for 2023. So please join me for a workshop. It's going to be held on January 23rd, 2023. Again, it's not New Year's resolution, so we don't have to do it before the 1st. There's no pressure there. It's going to be at the exact right time with the exact right people. Please, please, please do sign up. You're going to be able to attend for free because today's the first day that I'm opening this up and you guys get first dibs, and everybody who attends or watches the replay, you can have the free code. So please use that code in the checkout. The coupon code is 23andMe. You can see it just right here. to link that to attend for free. Again, my my contact info is here. I will put it here as well. Please reach out if you would like a copy of the slide deck, and I'll get it to you today so you can do the rest of the activities that we didn't get a chance to do. I think that my contact info should be in my attendee ID as well. And then my website, cindysparrow.com. So you can contact me either of those two ways. I just want to say, you guys, thank you so much for your energy today and your participation. This is some deep stuff that's so much about self-discovery, and it is my absolute favorite thing to do with my absolute favorite people who are 911 peeps. Thank you to my sisters and my brothers who joined today. And then I just want to also say thank you so much to Ricardo, who didn't let his limiting beliefs get in his way and made the leap to do all he does for our industry with within the trenches, and with having the insight to start this conference when we couldn't get together and meet for training. So thank you for that, and thank you for allowing me just to share and contribute today. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome, Cindy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, let me just, my thing won't let me put me back on the screen. That's good. All right. Well, I'm here verbally. Somebody
I can
asked
stop
if
sharing. Would that help? Sorry, go ahead.
no, my
Okay.
laptop's just being weird.
Okay.
Somebody asked if you could just share the formula for the age in the chat.
You got it. I can so do that. Yep. And I'm happy to give you the yes. And if they're already gone and they're watching the replay, I will do that. So it is. I need to go back to the screen. Wait. So sorry. Okay, so it's going to be take your current age and multiply it by 365. Write the number down. Then you're going to subtract that number from from 30,000. You're going to multiply the number, only I could spell, by 365.
Perfect.
Okay. I know we didn't get a chance for Q&A, and I'm probably bumping up on someone else's session. I know we had a late start, so apologies to the next person if you're waiting to start. I'm so sorry.
You're fine, Cindy. Thank you so much for coming and speaking and for being a silver sponsor. We obviously cannot do this without our sponsors. So thank you so much. Up next, if you guys stay tuned, we will have Samantha Hawkins as a keynote speaker. It's a session you're not going to want to miss. All right. Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.